Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Munmun Bhattacharya. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi receives ceremonial welcome and guard of honor in Maldives. Meets President of Maldives, Mohammed Moitz. India and Iran, in fact, and E3 nations hold nuclear talks with questions over future UN sanctions. And in chess, a historic all-Indian final of Women's World Cup, Koneru Hampi to face Divya Deshmukh in summit clash. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a two-day visit to Maldives following a landmark visit to the United Kingdom. Earlier today, PM Modi landed at the Villena International Airport in Malé to a ceremonial welcome. In a special gesture, President Mohammed Moitz and his cabinet members received PM Modi at the airport. Prime Minister Modi will also be participating in the 60th Independence Day celebrations of Maldives as the guest of honor. The Prime Minister received a warm and enthusiastic welcome from the Indian diaspora as he arrived at Malé. Waving flags and chanting slogans, members of the community gathered in large numbers to greet Prime Minister Modi. Upon his arrival in Malé, Prime Minister Modi said that he was deeply touched by the gesture of President Moitz to come to the airport to welcome him. In a social media post, the Prime Minister expressed confidence that India-Maldives friendship will scale new heights of progress in the times to come. In a vibrant display of India's cultural heritage, members of the Indian community in Maldives welcomed Prime Minister Narendra Modi by performing the traditional Chau dance of Eastern India. In a post on X, PM Modi said that the Indian diaspora plays a crucial role in furthering India-Maldives friendship. The Prime Minister also expressed happiness in interacting with the members of the diaspora and thanked them for the warm welcome. This is Prime Minister's third visit to Maldives and the first visit by a head of state or government to Maldives during the presidency of Mohammed Moitz. PM Modi's visit reflects the importance India attaches to its maritime neighbor Maldives, which continues to hold a special place in India's neighborhood-first policy and vision Mahasagar. This year, India and the Maldives are observing and marking 60 years of the establishment of diplomatic relations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi received a ceremonial welcome and guard of honor in Malé, Maldives. School children performed a vibrant cultural display to honor the Prime Minister, showcasing the nation's rich heritage. In a ceremonial gesture, PM Modi was also accorded a 21-gun salute, symbolizing the strong bilateral ties between India and Maldives. The visit underscores the deepening partnership, with discussions expected to focus on enhancing cooperation in trade, tourism and regional security. Prime Minister also met ministers and officials of the Maldivian government at Republic Square in Malé, Maldives. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also walked through a cultural procession to President's office in the Maldives. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Maldivian President Mohamed Moez held a one-on-one meeting in Malé. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during his state visit to the Maldives, also signed the visitor's book, marking a significant moment in India-Maldives relations. The Maldives is witnessing a landmark moment in its infrastructure journey. The Greater Malé Connectivity Project, being built by India's Afcons Infrastructure Limited, is the largest ever infrastructure project in the island nation and a game changer for regional connectivity.
Maldives is made up of more than 1,000 islands, but the main islands where the tourists are attracted is all near the Malé, which is the capital of the country. India, as we all know it, is a major part of the constructions and the projects that are going on and that have been completed in Malé. Behind me, if you see, this particular project is named as the Greater Malé Connectivity Project, and it's a 6.74 kilometer long bridge that is being constructed by India, and it will be the largest in Maldives. Let's go and see what's the speciality of this bridge.
The Greater Malé Connectivity Project is the largest ever infrastructure project in the island nation and a game changer for regional connectivity. The 6.7 kilometers long bridge and causeway network will link the capital Malé with Vilingili, Gulifalu and the industrial island of Thilafushi, ushering in a new era of seamless travel across the key islands. 3 major navigation bridges, each 140 meters long, will span deep water channels.
This bridge helps joining the Malay capital to Vilingili, Vilingili to Gulipalu, and Gulipalu to Tilapushi, Tilapushi the industrial hub. It benefits Maldives in better.
The project also includes 1.41 kilometers of marine viaduct, 2.32 kilometers of shallow waters, and nearly 3 kilometers of at-grade roads.
This project, we worked in deep waters, which are the maximum of about 55-meter depth, and we have done piling up to 122-meter long, and pile diameters of 2.6 meter diameter. And in the conditions, in rough weather conditions, we have completed the piling in this project.
With segments weighing over 240 tons, the project is also leading the way in smart mobility, with signalized junctions and solar-powered lighting integrated into its design.
Once the Greater Malé Connectivity Project is completed, it will transform daily life by making travel easier, trade smoother, and opportunities more accessible across islands. This bridge is not just concrete and steel, it's a symbol of India-Maldives friendship, a bridge of trust and progress and shared dreams. With camera person Aniket Dubey, this is Shama Mishra for DD India, Malé, Maldives.
The Maldives' stunning seaplane journeys are not just a mode of transport, they've become a key tourist attraction as well. And with Indian travelers now ranking as the third largest group of international visitors, demand for these aerial experiences is soaring. Take a look.
A bird's eye view of paradise. That's what thousands of tourists enjoy every day in the Maldives, thanks to its iconic seaplane services. These flights connect resort islands across the archipelago and have become a signature port of the Maldivian travel experience.
These islands are far from each other, and seaplane is the most convenient mode of connectivity, which can drop the tourists at the doorstep of the resort. And it is the fastest medium. And as a seaplane industry, more than 40% of the traffic in Maldives, which is more than 2 million tourists, are annually carried by seaplane. And out of that, our Trans-Maldivian Airways is the largest, which carries about 35% of the total traffic, inbound traffic of Maldives to the various resorts. So it's a very, very huge role the seaplane industry is playing in Maldives.
Indian tourists now make up the third largest group of international arrivals, many eager to capture the magic from the skies.
Indian market is very important for Maldives, and India is among the top 3 arrival countries within Maldives. And it is, as affluence is growing in India, the share of tourists coming from India are also growing. And what we find is Indians generally are going to very high-end resorts. And the resorts have also changed in the last 10 years, that a lot of activities which interest Indians, like Indian food, etc., is now very freely available in resorts. So it's a welcome change, and Indians contribute a lot to tourism economy of Maldives.
With growing demand, operators are expanding fleets and routes, making seaplanes a soaring success in the Maldives tourism story.
Seaplane tourism in Maldives is providing the tourism and the travelers a getaway to have an aerial view of the thousands of islands that Maldives has to offer. This particular activity is contributing to the country's GDP, and here it is an excellent opportunity for everybody to get connected to the thousands of islands and their resorts and enhance tourism. With camera person N.S. Sivakumar, this is Shama Mishra for DD India, Malé, Maldives.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. Thai army fires artillery at Cambodia border as tensions escalate between Thailand and Cambodia. Canada announces 25% tariffs on imports from the United States.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. The federal government of Canada announced that it is imposing a new 25% tariffs on a broad range of imports from the United States with immediate effect. The sweeping measure covers nearly $30 billion worth of U.S. goods, including steel and aluminium products, and marks a significant escalation in the ongoing trade standoff between Ottawa and Washington. DD India's Tarun Paul Singh gets us this report.
The 25% surtax will hit a wide spectrum of American exports, crucially targets US steels and aluminium entering Canada, the very metals at the heart of this dispute. But the list doesn't stop there. It spans dozens of other categories, from industrial materials to everyday consumer products. Canadians can expect higher prices on items ranging from orange juice and peanut butter to wine, beer, appliances, and even motorcycles, all of which are among the US goods now facing tariffs. In short, the tariff list touches everything from raw material to food and household items, underscoring how broad the retaliatory measures are. Canadian officials are characterizing these tariffs as direct countermeasure to US trade actions. According to a government statement, the 25% duties will remain in place until the US eliminates its tariffs against Canadian steels and aluminium products, a clear reference to the American levies that sparked this retaliation. Ottawa insists that it has little choice but to respond in kind to order to defend Canadian industries and jobs. Prime Minister Mark Carney has argued that the Washington moves left Canada no option but to stand up for our national economic interest. Action by Canada comes on the heel of a series of aggressive US trade measures that have upended the normal Canada-US trading relationship. Since his return to office in January, US President Donald Trump has steadily raised barriers against Canadian imports. In early February, Trump imposed 25% tariff on most goods from Canada under a national security pretext tied to drug and border concerns. He then retashed up pressure further. In June, he doubled US imports duties on steel and aluminium to 50%, a move that struck directly at Canadian metal and exporters. And just weeks ago, the White House warned of even broader measures. Trump announced plans to slap a 35% tariff on all Canadian imports by August 1 if his demands weren't met. These US actions, unprecedented against American closest ally, set the stage to the retaliation we are now seeing from Ottawa. Canada officials note that the Washington tariff violates the spirit of the USMCA Free Trade Pact and were introduced to pressure Canada on issues like fentanyl trafficking, like Ottawa calls a false excuse. For now, however, neither side is blinking. The Canadian government's stance is that it will maintain this counter tariff dollar for dollar until Washington reverse course, and President Trump, known for his handling trade position, appears prepared to continue the confrontation, believing it gives him leverage. The result is that the Canada-US trade relationship has entered uncharted territory. From Canada, this is Tarun Paul Singh.
A high-stakes summit between European and Chinese leaders has wrapped up in Beijing on Thursday, marking 5 decades of diplomatic ties. But tensions ran high as EU chief Ursula von der Leyen warned that China's close ties with Russia are now the determining factor in relations with the bloc. To tell us if the meeting was able to do anything to repair relations or find any consensus, DW correspondent Emily Leshner joins us from Berlin. Emily, first give us a little background. What was the meeting initially intended to be?
Well, the meeting was meant to celebrate 50 years of diplomatic ties between Beijing and Europe, but instead leaders used this as an opportunity to express their concerns over the current state of relations between the two powers, much of which is related to trade and what the EU sees as China's support of Russia. As you mentioned, it was cut from 2 days to 1 even before it started. It was initially planned to be hosted in Brussels, but Chinese President Xi Jinping declined the invitation. And so European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Alexander Costa ended up traveling to Beijing for the one-day event. So instead of a celebration of relations, the meeting was really used as a stage to reiterate grievances and flex how much pressure both powers are willing to put on one another to get what they want.
Also, Emily, a growing list of disagreements, it seems, and were China and the EU able to come to agree on anything finally?
Well, the EU is agreeing to establish a mechanism for ensuring the supply of rare earth exports from China as a way to avoid production stoppages that European companies experienced last year after China decided to introduce curbs on rare earth exports last year. Now, after these curbs, the rare earth shipments to the EU fell by 84%. And this caused massive supply chain delays, and productions came to a grinding halt in Europe. That's because China controls 98% of the rare earth materials that are needed in things like electric batteries and other green technologies. So they didn't quite come to a concrete agreement about anything except to try to fix this rare earths supply chain issue that Europe has.
Okay. We'll leave it at that, Emily, reporting. Let's move on now. Iranian diplomats met with counterparts from Germany, Britain and France on Friday for renewed nuclear talks, amid warnings that the three European powers could trigger snapback sanctions outlined under the 2015 deal. The meeting in Istanbul is the first since Israel's attack on Iran, which sparked a 12-day war and targeted key nuclear and military sites. The European countries, along with China and Russia, are the remaining parties to a 2015 deal that lifted sanctions on Iran in return for restrictions on its nuclear program. A deadline of October 18 is fast approaching when the resolution governing that deal expires.
जिसमें कि भारत और मालदीव दोनों देशों के प्रतिनिधिमंडल
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is currently on a two-day state visit to Maldives, where he is going to be the guest of honor for the 60th Independence Day celebrations of Maldives. Maldives laying out the red carpet for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Just after his arrival, we saw how the President of Maldives, Mohammed Moitz, had come to the airport along with cabinet ministers to welcome him. And the Indian diaspora has welcomed him too, with traditional performances. An extremely significant visit in the context of India's neighborhood first policy and Mahasagar.
मालदीव की यात्रा पर हैं, द्विपक्षीय यात्रा पर प्रधानमंत्री गए हैं मालदीव.
So India and Maldives now holding delegation level talks led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi from the Indian side and President of Maldives Mohammed Moitz from the Maldivian side. Prime Minister got a grand welcome upon his arrival. The President of Maldives, along with his cabinet ministers, had come to the airport to receive the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister was accorded a ceremonial welcome and a guard of honor. The Indian diaspora welcomed him passionately. There were Indian cultural performances in honor of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Earlier, restricted level talks had taken place between the two principals, and now delegation level talks are underway. After the delegation level talks, we expect MOUs or pacts to be exchanged between the two sides, and in a couple of hours from now, we expect press statements as well. Maldives, a very significant partner for India in the context of India's neighborhood first policy and Mahasagar vision. This is the first visit of a head of state or government to Maldives under the presidency of Dr. Mohammed Moitz. India has always been the first responder in times of crisis for Maldives, be it the COVID-19 pandemic or the water crisis. India has always been at the forefront with humanitarian assistance. India and Maldives also share very close cooperation as far as defense and security is concerned. Bilateral exercises as well as trilateral exercises take place regularly. Regularly, the Maldives defense personnel are trained by the Indian side, and we expect a number of MOUs to be exchanged between the two sides. Well, we'll keep you posted on that. For now, we'll take a breather, and after that, a special broadcast on Prime Minister's visit to Maldives will be presented to you. That's it then in this bulletin. We'll be back with a special broadcast. Stay tuned.